Okay, here we go. Episode one of Dare to Daydream. I am here today on episode one with my friend Mary-Liz Escanuela. Mary-Liz, how are you today?
I am doing so good. Thank you so much for just having me and just having faith in me that I can do this and be on your podcast and just be a guest.
Absolutely. We talked a couple weeks ago when I called you and I said, I've had this idea for a while, and you start jotting down different ideas and guess and what it could look like. And I thought, I know who has to be the first guest on this podcast. So before we go into kind of how you and I met and how we know each other and why I thought you'd be the perfect guest for episode one, tell everyone a little bit about Mary Liz, where you're from, and just a little brief history and a little bio on Mary Liz.
Well, how much time you got?
Well, yeah, it's just like therapy,
um,
right? You and I both
yeah,
could sit here for hours. We should be on a couch, right?
yes. Well, so I'm Mary Liz. I'm a Texas girl. I'm originally from Texas. I've moved around a little bit, lived in Florida for a little while. And now I am located in Georgia with my family. I have a husband whose name is Marcelo, and we have two beautiful children, Penelope and Leo. And, you know, just I'm living the dream. I am. I took it for granted for a while. And, it's goodness, life is just one of those things where it hits you hard sometimes, and it really makes you grateful for the things that you have, and it makes you realize the things that you've taken for granted, and to hold fast to the things that could just easily slip through the cracks. And so I am just living in a time right now where I am just grateful for every single day that I am alive. I am just so grateful for the people I have met along the way in the past. I don't know, like I guess 2 years now. Oh my goodness, it's almost been 2 years, I guess. And so it has been a wonderful journey, and I am just so grateful for the opportunities that I've gotten and the people that I've met, like you, that have just made my heart so happy and just full. And yeah, that's just a little tidbit about me.
just a little, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
scratching the
before
surface.
right. Before we get too far into career path and how you ended up where you're at today, let's go back a little bit to, and I believe this is how you met Marcelo. There was a spell, a chapter in Mary Liz's life around Disney.
Yes, there was. So when I was 22, I had just graduated college, and I decided that I wanted to do the Disney thing. They have a college program, and I ended up heading down there after I graduated. And it was the first night actually that I had moved into my Disney college program housing, and there was this welcome party. And Marcelo's roommate stepped on my roommate's foot, and that's kind of how our two apartments got acquainted with one another. And I was just like, I'm here because I'm like on a mission. I just want to do this. And then I'm going to head home and find a nice Georgia boy, get, settle down. And excuse me, little did I know that I would end up getting married to this Yankee boy from New York. And so, I mean, to be fair, I was very skeptical of dating at the time. So I was, it was not on my mind at all. But I really just ended up falling for him because we just spent time together as friends. And we just really found out that we had, similar morals and, what we wanted out of life and just how we saw things going. And it was just a pretty cool, that was, one of my first aha moments that we've talked about. And so it is pretty funny to see how that all ended up being orchestrated, and it's totally just a blessing from God that I have him and that I found him.
That's beautiful. Yes, the aha moments. We've unpacked quite a few of those over the couple of years I've known you. So then, take us through? Then you and Marcelo do the Disney thing, and how do we get to Augusta, Georgia, in 2024 with two kids?
Yes. So we actually, had the dream of just we're going to be in Orlando and, we talked about kids and, how we wanted to raise a family. And we ended up beginning to try for children after our first year of marriage. And so we were just like, all right, this is the time we're going to try it. We're going to see where this goes. And it took a while. It took probably about 9 months of trying. And finally, it happened, like after much frustration and just trying to figure out those, like, why I don't understand. And we got pregnant. And then I guess a few weeks later, we found out that we had lost that baby. And so it was just a very difficult time of, like, just anger. And, I was just so mad at God. I was just like, why would you, allow this, season of trying? And it finally happened and it was taken away from me. And so I had all of these just burning questions of anger and of resentment, and my husband got the brunt of that, and uh, I'm so grateful he's decided to stick by my side. But we ended up kind of evaluating, like reevaluating, like what do we want out of life? Like what do we picture ourselves being in Orlando for, the rest of our lives? And that was the point where we were like, I don't think so. I don't think we were meant to be here. And so we ended up just kind of really figuring out and weighing our options. So, we thought about moving to New York, where he's from. We thought about moving to Atlanta because at the time he had had a job at Orlando City Soccer Club. And we thought, well, it might be an easy move to, go to another soccer club that's based in Atlanta. We'd be near my family. We'd still have that big city vibe. And then we were just like, Atlanta's not that's not the place where we want to be. And so we ended up, talking to my parents, and they were just like, if you want to move to Augusta, we'd love to have you here. And so we were just like, all right, I think that's it for right now. Like, that's the place where it's just very hometown feel. We just, we really wanted that happy medium between small town and big city. And this is kind of the place where, everyone is just so nice. Everyone's so warm and welcoming. And we immediately felt that here. And so we were just like, we have made the right decision. Augusta is where we need to end up, at least for this season of our life. So that's kind of how we ended up here.
Gotcha. And I believe there's a small golf tournament once a year that gets played there. Is that correct?
A little one, a little one. It is crazy. We're about to get started on all of that. We are renting our house out. That's, a big thing here is
Sure.
people rent out their houses and, go away for spring break. And, it's wild. It really is. It is quite the tournament to be getting prepared for, but it's also just a big tournament in general. Like, this city just blows up during
Yeah.
that week, so it's fun. It's great to be here during that time, but it's also kind of nice to get away as well.
Sure, absolutely, I can imagine. And following, Marcelo on Instagram like I do, does he, as an avid golfer, and from what I'm gathering, a really good golfer, does he get to golf during Masters Week wherever you go?
So he doesn't necessarily get to play golf during the week, just because a lot of people come in. They'll rent out a lot of the country clubs here, and there's tournaments that actually go on at some of the golf clubs this week. But since we typically travel, we take advantage of the week, and we'll travel. But this year we're gonna go head out to Texas, so he's hoping that he can get around in while we're out there. So
Yeah. Have
But
clubs will travel.
he's a great golfer. Yes,
Uh-huh.
that is very true. And so we're driving, so he will have the room for it.
Oh, he's got room
But
for
yes.
clubs and clothes and a couple pairs of shoes and yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So he loves golf, and we're getting the kids into it. They're taking lessons, so we've kind of made it a family affair at this point to just encourage it and play together, and it's a lot of fun. We love playing together.
I love it. Okay, so fast forward, we get through the Disney phase. We figure out Orlando's not for us. And Mary Liz, take me now through where you and I met. And for the listeners, Mary Liz and I met at a beautiful, beautiful place just outside of Nashville, Tennessee called Onsite. And I always tell people who have never heard of it, it's sort of like adult therapy camp. Maybe that's not a great explanation, but you are very near and dear to it these days. So before we move forward to that venture that you've started, that kind of I think was discovered at Onsite, take our listeners through because I know you're going to do a much better job of explaining Onsite than I can. You're very close to it every day. What is Onsite, where you and I met, and why is it that you and I have known each other for, gosh, not even quite 2 years, and it seems like a lifetime because of this magical place? Take our listeners through what the experience is like at Onsite that you and I went through, and what they do for guests that have other experiences there.
Mhm. Yes, on site. I am so grateful for this place. I know you are too, and just probably 99.9% of the people that we've come into contact with and that that we were at on site with, and just the people that I've come across in life have nothing but wonderful things to say about this place. And um, it is transformative. It is just, I mean, it's an experiential therapy is what, they call it. And it is exactly that. Like it's life changing. I don't know how they do it. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Me too.
But it is just, when I pulled up to that mansion, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is what it's going to be like. I just, of course, first and foremost, thought this is the haunted mansion. Like, what have I got myself into? I have no idea. Like, I'm about to lose my electronics. I'm going to be immersed in this, like, woo woo, hippy dippy world. And but I also had no idea what to expect because I went into it blindly. I wanted to be fixed. I wanted to just figure out what was wrong with me. And just sitting in that big room for the first time with all those people and, just seeing people crying and also just people conversing with each other. And, I was at the point where I was just like trying to take it all in. I was sitting with my roommate. We were kind of talking here and there, but, we were in a similar situation where it was just like, this is so intimidating. Like, I don't know, what's going to happen after this week. And, I'm just taking in and observing this whole situation and then being put into different groups. I mean, we had the best one.
Absolutely.
I There's no doubt about it. But just sitting in that room, just the people that made up our group had such an impact on my life because it wasn't just trying to figure out what was wrong with me. It was being able to sit in a room and feel the emotions of somebody else, to feel the feelings, to take on the role of the people in their lives as well. And um, being able, and this is how I feel about it. I don't know about you, but I felt like the people in our group were healing me. And I felt like, I mean, there's so many times where I just feel so unworthy to be like, doing what I do, but also just like sitting in that room. It was just like, I feel so unworthy to be taking on a role of trying to heal somebody else. but I felt like that's what was happening. We were healing each other, and um, it's it is incredible just the transformation that you can see every single day in each other's lives, because it's just like you see that moment where people are having their breakthroughs and their aha moments of just like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, I have been sitting heavy with this, experience or experiences, like traumas that have just been weighing me down for most of my life, and trying to just like get it off, and actually being able to like see it lifted off of people is just the most beautiful thing. And I think your tears of sorrow and of confusion turn into tears of joy by the end of the week, to where it's just like you have the faith and the strength and the courage to move forward in life because of what Onsite can do through their guides, but also through just the community. Marcelo and I talk about it all the time, and we tell other people it's not just about what you are doing in that room. It's about what happens outside of that room as well. The community that, the 40-ish people that are there that you get to experience this whole thing with. Community breeds intimacy, and it breeds connection. And a lot of what humanness needs is connection. If we don't have connection, there is a lack of purpose, and it makes it hard to go on with life sometimes. Again, this is just my feelings on it. I am so grateful that I didn't go back to my room every single day after, because I think, if this were, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, if I were to go into that room and just, I would have gone back to my room and just not spent time with anybody. But
Yeah.
sitting around the bonfire, going to the mansion and playing card games and coloring and just talking, listening to people play musical instruments. It was just like this release that was so beautiful to watch other people experience their breakthroughs and their emotions. That that's why I'm such a big advocate of it. I love this place because you can see just the transformation of people's hearts during it, not just of their traumas. It's not just that. It's about their heart and how they find that strength again, because going into it, I know that I felt so weak, and I left feeling like I could conquer the world.
Mm.
And I think that is what this place can do for anyone. And I mean, of course, it's not just doing the workshops like we did. There's the milestones for the 30 to 90-day stints there, and then the equine therapy, which that is just so cool in itself. But I would go back just for the equine therapy.
Right. I know that sounds so
But
cool.
oh, it it was honestly amazing. And I don't even know if I got to tell you about that. Like, we were able to do that when we went back for the marriage one.
No.
We ended up doing a day of the equine therapy,
Wow.
and oh my goodness, it was beautiful. We were dealing with the same horse, and we both experienced completely different things. And we ended up losing our big baby dog. He's ginormous. He was 90 pounds. It was just all of a sudden we were on a trip last year, and he had some kind of autoimmune disease, and he went very quickly. So I'm glad that he didn't suffer. But when we went back in September, that was the first time that I saw Marcelo actually grieve the loss of our dog. And it was beautiful. Like he was able to like finally let go, because he was always taught that he had to be strong for everyone else. And it's things like that where it's just like he actually had the opportunity to just let that go, and be able to be in his emotions. And it's okay when it's okay for men to cry. Like it was honestly just amazing to be able to witness, especially just the person that you are, in this together with. Just to be able to watch them have breakthrough. And it's just so encouraging to you as well. Like for me, I was just like, I'm so encouraged to see that he can actually, you know, do the thing that, I didn't expect him to do. And that is, I've always known this about him, is that he's always wanted to be strong. But in that moment, it's not considered weakness. It's considered actually letting your feelings out and being able to deal with them. And then that's what makes you stronger. And, it's going back to that admitting defeat. It's not admitting defeat, it is allowing yourself to dig into your feelings so you can come out on the other side stronger.
Mhm.
And I think that's what this place does, honestly. So, I mean, you could have a completely different experience than I did, but I would like to ask you the same question. Like, how did you feel going into on site, and um, just what was your experience just personally?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. It was, I go back at times, and you and I are on a group text with our cohort, what, 7 of us, I believe, and it's
Hmm.
Tribe Tuesday. We text every Tuesday. So yesterday was Tuesday here, and we don't miss a Tuesday, I don't think. I don't think we've ever missed in almost what, a year and a half.
Nope.
And you usually lead the charge. Sometimes it's 7 p.m. and Mary-Liz comes in, flying in out of the gate. It was like, don't forget, it's Tribe Tuesday. But I had similar experiences, and I bring up our group because I feel like we all kind of shared, even though we come from different backgrounds and we're there for different reasons, the same healing experience. And what spoke to me, and I believe to all of us, was just what it truly means to be vulnerable, and that it's okay. And that's where the healing comes from, right? Is one thing I've heard in this season, and it's so true, is you have to feel it to heal it, right? And until we unpack that and or just strip it down and are completely vulnerable. And they say on site, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's the science and the psychology of it is a year's worth of therapy broken down into that week. So it's exhausting, but it is a good exhaustion. And I go back to, and we've laughed about this, that first night, that first day you check in, and like you said, you give all your technology away, your phones and everything, and you're just among strangers, and everyone has that same look in their eye, right? And it's, check-in takes a few hours, or some people are nervously like walking along the horse pasture by themselves, others are just chatting people up, trying to pass time that first few hours until we meet for the intro and the dinner. And I go back to Dave in our group. He was, and everyone that may be listening that knows Dave, he's the most honest, like, what you see is what you get with Dave. And everyone's like, how are you? I'm pretty good. How are you? Oh, I'm excited to see what this is a place about. Dave was like, hey, how's it going, man? Are you kidding me? I don't belong here. I want to go home. What are we doing? Is it too late? Should I be here? So nervous, and just raw with it. And every time I talk to him and we unpack that, we just both we all start laughing, because it was so true. And I tell people, I went into that room the first morning, right? Check in, and then you go to dinner, and you're still uneasy. Why am I here? Did I make a mistake? And then you go into that first room, and that's where you truly. And I didn't know you. I didn't know anybody. And you don't go into your roommates. That's strategic, right? You're not in a room with your roommates. And the first day, I tell people, those strangers later, I don't know, maybe a day, 2 days, it wasn't long, before everything was out. They knew more about me than my closest friends, than my most of my family knows, and that was real. And I think that's where, for me, the
Mhm.
healing started. And I wouldn't say stop, because it's an ongoing process, right? And that's what they say, right? Trust the process. And so that's where I learned, with complete strangers who are now my family, that that's the true, you know, purpose and the meaning of that was being vulnerable and just letting it all out, and the support. And like you said, I don't know how they do it. And we were so blessed with Kim. Our guide was just absolutely fantastic. And, looking back now, and if you look through notes and journals, you're like, man, she just knew what to say and do, and the responses. And because, it's a lot of it's through experiment. She doesn't know the response that,
Mhm.
you're going to get or I'm going to get. And one other takeaway that I had from on-site is, they said more than once, and maybe it was Carlos, we would meet back in the big groups in between lunch and dinner, and in between meditations and things. And I believe he would say, you're going to learn more from others than you are about yourself this week. And do you
Mhm.
still get that? Like, sometimes I'll be, thinking about it, about on-site. I'll think about you, or Sean, or Dave, or, somebody that, like, I learned so much about. And so
Mhm.
that was real powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I one thing that I mean, it's just always it's a funny moment, but it's also a true moment is, when you said we became family, and I felt like never before have strangers come like into my life, and I have felt just this pull and so comfortable with these people who don't even like really know me, and then they get to see all the messy that is just poured out from
Yeah.
me. But, Kim said that Agunkwe, which, of course, that was a Dave moment, and it's always going to be ingrained into my mind. But that agape love,
Hmm.
and it's just that is what I felt in that room.
Yeah.
And it didn't click with me until, of course, this was like one of the last days that we were in that room. And, it's just like, of course, like that is exactly how I feel in this room, is that like everyone was just so, like, we just loved each other through reliving traumas in our life.
Right.
And it was hard and it was messy, but nobody gave up on each other.
Mm.
And that to me is just one of the coolest things that you could ever experience in life. And, like you said, it's hard to even get that from, your closest friends. And, as sad as it is, sometimes family can't even understand things like that. I'm blessed to have a family that, has continued to love me through all my mess. But, there are people out there who don't know that. And, I think that's what makes on-site such a beautiful place, is you find family there that just loves you through the mess that is life.
Right. And you and I would laugh throughout the week at, after a session, and we would break it down, and we're all sitting around, maybe some deep discovery somebody had, and we're going around the room and unpacking. And that's one of the other reasons why I had to have you on, is because, I always call you little sis and you always call me bro. Is because it didn't take
Mhm.
long that first day, I think, when I was like, wait a second, you keep stealing my answers. Your childhood was just like mine, right? And we would like unpack, like, okay, kid that grew up in the church, and then all these, attachment styles and things we like found out about each other. I'm like, okay, I think we were separated at birth. We were definitely, so we would joke about that throughout the week. But no, that was the beautiful part, was just that connection. And it was like that last day, even though we were all exhausted and proud of how much work we did and everything, everybody was not ready to go home, but yet, ready to go back home and
Yeah.
and start the work. That last day was like, I don't want this to end. I don't
Yeah.
want,
Oh, yeah.
it's you could see in just 6 days how far you had come and the relationships that
Mhm.
were built. And you knew it wasn't goodbye, but it was like, I don't want this to end. It was just such a
Yeah.
family, feeling that we knew we're all leaving each other. So it's a beautiful
That
week.
apprehension of, like, getting there is it turned into, like, a bittersweetness of
Yeah,
just, like, now I get to go back to life and try and figure out
right.
how to turn what I've learned and, like, doing the work outside of this place where I've just begun the work. So,
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah, it's such a God thing of like day one, I don't know, and then day six, like, wait, I don't want to leave. No, I didn't want to be here in the first place. No, don't take me. Um, so you get back from on site, and it's
Mhm,
clear, the description that of the experience that you had, and weeks go on, months goes on, and Mary Liz is working on Mary Liz, and she's healing, and she's looking at past traumas, and she's dealing with all of her stuff head on. And
mhm.
take me to a little more to today. What's we go on? What happened here?
Yeah. Um, so, goodness. Again, how much time you got? Well, it is just it's one of those things where I had to look at all the traumas that I experienced just that weren't my fault, but then I had to look at the traumas that I experienced that were my fault, and also the things that I inflicted upon other people, and just how many people I'd hurt by my own actions. To take it back a little bit before on site, I ended up having an affair for a while. And it, ended up coming out. And basically that was my rock bottom. That's why I went to on site. And also to have to deal with other traumas that I had not dealt with. And so it was just like I hadn't even um, I actually didn't get to all the messy stuff that, were self-inflicted. Um, I basically scratched the surface when I went for my first time to on-site. And then, I came back home and, I just told Marcelo, I was like, listen, this place is incredible. You have to go. And he was like, who are you? Like, you are a completely different person than 7 days ago when you left here. And I was like, I am a new person because I've experienced something that you have to experience. And so he ended up going. And, this whole time and I understood what he was feeling. There's just this hole missing from your heart when you can't communicate with your other person for 7 days. And so it gave me time to think where it was just like, golly, how can we like just get the word out about onsite? Like why don't more people know about this place? I'm just like, I don't understand like how this place is amazing. It's just wonderful. Such wonderful things happen there. And, Marcelo ends up coming back and, we're continuing to work on ourselves, like you said. And, it's a daily struggle to you know, wake up and do the work and to continue to trust the process. Um, and I heard this quote one time where it said, I do a really great job every day until my feet hit the floor in the morning. And it's so true because it's just
Yeah,
like in your mind, like even just, coming to, in the mornings and just thinking, I can take on the day. And then, you have that choice to make of, am I going to do this or am I going to be pouty and just make everyone miserable today?
sure.
And it's a daily choice, it's a daily struggle. But we continued doing our own therapy here, continued unlearning awful behaviors. I mean, we're still in that process. It's going to be a lifelong process to, change what, we've learned. Of course, we're 34 years old now. So, 30 years of behavior, it can take a while to change. But the most important thing that we give each other is grace. And that is such a big thing to have. And I'm so grateful that we're able to talk about that as well. It's we're able to call each other out when we're just like, hey, you're not practicing what you're supposed to be doing, and I expect that of him. And I'm just like, ah. And it can be kind of daunting at times, and it can be just really frustrating when it's just like, gosh, I've been like working so hard, like I don't want to revert back. And but that's why having a partner who is in the same boat as you to continue to encourage you. And we both actually came to each other one day and we were just like, we were thinking like, how do we get more people to onsite? And we were just like, you're thinking that, I'm thinking that. Like, what do we need to do? Like, it's so like it's expensive, but it's worth every single penny. And I don't think I've met someone who hasn't said that it wasn't.
Right.
And so I he just said, I want to come up with this idea to where we can help people. Maybe we can like supplement the cost for people. And I was like, I was thinking that too. And maybe we can like make a foundation. And so like, it is amazing just the idea that popped into our heads. And like you said, we think it's a God thing to where it's just like, he was whispering to both of us and just giving us this little idea that's turned into this dream that is turning into a reality of We Go On. And a little backstory about that is it's actually from a Disney fireworks
Of
show.
course. Yes.
The the show was called Illuminations, and I mean, it was at Epcot, and it was pretty much just all the countries around the World Showcase coming together and in harmony, and just this beautiful fireworks show. But the song that ended the show was "We Go On," and we loved the show in general, but we loved that song, and so we were just like, this makes perfect sense for us. Like, we go on. The amount of junk and trauma that we've gone through, and yet we're still doing it. We're still making it. We're still pushing forward. And we go on. Like, we're going on. We are moving forward as one. And we're just like, this is it. Let's see if we can make this happen. So probably about 9 months after the conception of this idea, we officially launched We Go On, and it is a nonprofit foundation, and it is for anyone who is struggling financially. We are a resource. We want to get people connected with local therapists and counselors if they need a connection to a church. If they need book recommendations, podcast recommendations, we are a resource like that. But the biggest thing that we do is financial scholarships. So if we know that therapy is expensive, we know that on-site's expensive, we don't want the financial side of things to scare people away from doing the work. And that was the most important thing to us, is that like, it's sad that people don't want to go because they can't afford it. And a lot of times, what about insurance and things like that? It's not always reliable. And so we're just like, you know let's get this idea together of how we can do like baby steps. So we will supplement costs. And so our idea is that we want to cover 3 therapy sessions or counseling sessions with a therapist. And that is us directly paying the therapist. And so it's, you know, it's amazing to see how we can do that and collaborate with other therapists, and then also supplementing costs for things like on-site, doing the experiential therapy, and we are in a place where we're still in our infancy, so it's difficult to cover the full cost of on-site, um, but we are willing to pay a decent amount. That way, people aren't like apprehensive in going because, like I said, people need to know about this place. People need to know that there are people out there that are wanting this for you. And, they want you to heal. They want you to take away the tools that you need in order to succeed in life. And that has been our biggest prayer, is that we go on to be successful, because we don't want it to be a daunting process for other people. We want people to experience the joy, even though it's hard work sometimes. Like, therapy can be challenging. You get called out on your stuff. um, but we want you to succeed. We want you to know that there are people out there who care and who love you. And, you are made for a purpose, and you are made for a bigger reason than, what you're going through. You're bigger than anxiety. You're bigger than your depression. You are so important. And, you are meant to be here. And it's okay to take care of yourself. It's not selfish. It is okay to admit and to be vulnerable, like you said. And that's kind of our I guess little bubble of we go on. I know I can get long-winded, so
No, that's why we're here. That's beautiful. I think it's amazing that you and Marcelo have done the work and have done it side by side, and have taken these journeys in your own lives, you know, as a solo mission, but then also partner back up to make your marriage stronger. So, but above that, then you look outward and say, okay, how can we continue to help others that may need this? So, when you probably through the Tuesday Tribe text for first let us know about this as a group, and I was just like, oh, of course Mary-Liz is doing this, right? It was such a Mary-Liz thing to help others, and it was just so amazing to watch it unfold. And I follow along on social media and on your site and just looking at it grow. Was it, like looking back, I mean, I think a lot of people have this idea, right? This aha, this whisper, and it certainly sits in us, right? It sits down in our soul somewhere, and you hear it. But no, I'm everything you just said, right? Like, I'm not good enough. I can't be doing that. I can't. Like, what would advice would you give to someone that says, I'd like to start a nonprofit, I'd like to start a company, I'd like to go write a book, I'd like to help others, I'd simply like to dot dot dot, and I think this may be a gift that I could give others.
Mhm.
How was there fear involved? Was there, roadblocks? And, how did you and Marcelo get through some of those where maybe at times, you said it took 9 months. I'm sure at times that felt like 9 years, but were there times during like the ramp up stages of it, right? Or even through the middle of you're like, okay, signs are pointing at we should just throw in the towel, but you kept going for the bigger calling. Take me kind of through that. Like, how would you, I guess, encourage others just to power through some of those challenging, doubting, you know, self-inflicted, ideas that this isn't a good mission to be on.
So, I'm somehow I've turned into the quite the optimist. My husband is the realist. So, of course, I'm just like, oh, I have all these ideas, and we're gonna do it. And he's just like, hang on, we've got to figure out how we're gonna do this. And so I am very much one that is just I've always been this way, to where I am. a fly by the seat of my pants girl. I am very free spirited, and I'm just like, let's just go wherever the wind takes us. And I have someone who is just like, hang on, come down from like, your daydream cloud, and we got to think about all the logistics of everything. And so he's been able to teach me. That is one thing I'm grateful for, is that I have a teacher as well, and my husband, who can teach me these things of, hang on, like we've got to walk through the process. We can't just like launch a website or do all these things. We have to think about like, how are we going to get the financials? Like, how are we going to turn this into a nonprofit? How can we get our names out there? And, it took a lot of, you know, equal parts optimism and realism to make this come true. And, I don't think that I have ever been afraid of the outcome of this, because I and I don't want to say like, I've been living on a prayer, and just make it sound like, I'm just unrealistic. But, it has, for me, I've just covered it in prayer and have just been asking God, okay, what do we need to do? What is this going to look like? Show us what we need to do in this to make it successful, and to make sure that we are literally putting our love into it. We're putting our love on it and giving it out to other people so that they're not afraid. And, I've always just been, apprehensive. I went through anxiety and depression myself, to where it's just like, I have gone through the self-doubt, the just, I'm unworthy. And this has probably been one of the first times in my life where I feel as though, because it's not for me, this is not any self-glorification. This is literally not to my benefit, not to my husband's benefit. This is because we want others to feel the love of God, and it's for others. And, of course, we're not getting a dime of this. This is literally, if it's coming in and, we're giving to it ourselves, this is so others can feel like the finances aren't what's defeating them. And it's also just encouraging people as well. And I think that's what keeps me going, is that because it's not of me, it's not, this was a vision, this was a dream, this was such a God thing, as we've been saying, that it has just, I have been running on the future of others. Like,
Mm.
I have just been running on, you know, the people that we are going to help, the people that we have helped. And that's been the most beautiful thing, is that we have been able to help people. We've been able to help two families um, with therapy, but we've also been able to send someone to on-site as well. And so it's just like, I am just so grateful that we have even just been able to do that much for people and their families, because again, it's not just about the person, it's about the people that they come into contact with too. It's about their families. Like, this is, it's a domino effect of just like, when we're helping someone, it's also helping their families, and it is, helping others to have that breakthrough, and to overcome trauma. And I think, knowing what I've gone through, it's just like, that's what I want other people to experience. And it's just such a wonderful feeling that I'm just like, oh, they're going to have this amazing experience to where they can just dive deep, and they can overcome whatever obstacles that they may be facing in their lives. And there are some daunting aspects to that. I keep saying that word, but it is, like life is just, that's just how it is sometimes. But my word to what your question was is that even though things may seem daunting and you have to go through the logistic side of things, don't let that scare you from pursuing your dreams and from pursuing the things that you want in life, because I know for this, it's because I want to help people and I just want to love people. That's what I'm called to do. One of my verses that I've clung to, and it's probably been a year and a half now. It's First Corinthians 16:14, and it says, "Let all that you do be done in love." And that's it. Like, that's the verse. Like, I want people to know me because I've loved others and I've loved through things. And I don't want people to be afraid of chasing their dreams because, they're thinking, "Oh, it's going to get squashed by somebody." Don't give up, because you can find those people who are going to encourage you and who are going to love you through it, and cling to those people because they're what's going to keep you going as well. And I mean, if if you are a believer, or if you believe in God, that's one thing too, like that you can just tack on to your experience, is that you can go to this powerful being that can give you the sustenance that you need to succeed and to continue that just feeling of encouragement that you are doing the right thing because you love others and others love you. And I think that's been my bottom line from, the conception of this idea to now, is that all I want to do is just love people and to help people and for others to see God in a different way than they've ever seen him before.
Mm, yes, thank you. That was beautiful. It's interesting when we hear words like you just spoke. It can be so much simpler than we make it, right? If we put love first and everything else second.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. Mary Liz, this has been amazing. Before we go, how can we find you? How can we find We Go On social media? We need to let's put some donation dollars in the We Go On account so they can continue to. I love what you said about your hope lies in the people of the future that you haven't even helped yet. I mean that's what it's all about. So how can listeners find We Go On and support this amazing mission that you and Marcelo are on?
Yes, so you can find our website at wgoi.org, and our social media is on Instagram, at least, is we underscore go underscore. Sorry, I'll do that again. Our Instagram is at we underscore go underscore on underscore inc. And I mean, yeah, we have our own Instagram accounts too. And so those are also linked on our We Go On page. But we want to encourage people. That is our goal. We want to show that we love people. And yeah, send us an email, send us a message. We'd be happy to talk to you and just walk you through the process of, who we are and what we do. And yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being on today. Even more, thank you for the work you're doing. This is such a inspiration, I know, to me, and I know to the group, the friend group that we have through Onsite and beyond. The listeners I know are going to be extremely inspired by your story, and it was awesome to have you on in episode one to unpack everything. And thank you for being so honest and vulnerable and just being you and showing people and taking that next step from that to start We Go On, what it looks like to daydream, because that's what it's all about, not just keeping it inside, but sharing it with others. So, Mary Liz, thank you for being on episode one. And
Thank you for having me.
I do not think this is the last time we'll see you on Dare to Daydream. So thanks again.
I hope not. Thank you.
We'll see you.
Bye.